Welcome to, I keep saying this is kind of my favorite class. Um, but like your kids, you love all of your kids equally, but there's always that one, right? And for me, this really is that one. And there's a bunch of reasons, and I'll talk about it as we go along. So here's what I want to do. I just want to take a few minutes. I want to review the class with you so you have some general idea what to expect, and how to sort of navigate Canvas if you've not done that yet. It's pretty simple, but let's go ahead and do it. So up here's all the important stuff, right? I love this message from Snoop Dogg. If you've not listened to it, you want to listen to it. I think it still works. It's been up there for years. I'll check it after this is over. I forgot to check it this semester. And then the syllabus, course outline, but those are great, but you don't need them because the weekly outline is essentially what I'm going to be showing you now. But open them up, take a look, and you always have access to them. My contact information is here. The best way to get a hold of me is to send me a text or give me a phone call. I mean, don't hesitate, right? And don't be like, oh, I feel like I'm bothering you. You're not bothering me. I actually really like getting messages from my students. And, it kind of makes me feel like I'm needed in this little adventure of ours, as opposed to some random AI building the class. My humanness is still needed. So don't hesitate. Send me a note. You've got a question, and don't feel like you have to email me that you're going to bother me at texting. I normally will answer texts up until about 8 o'clock. After that, I'm out. I turn off my phone. I put it in my office. That way, I can begin sort of preparing to go to sleep. So I've got a bunch of extra credit, um, which means that if you have a bad week and you miss an assignment, just relax. It's not going to blow you up. Do a couple of these; they're easy, right? Tell me about, what did you do over summer break? Assuming you had a summer break, or if you didn't have a summer break because you have a job, tell me what you did. Did you on vacation? Did you do anything fun? Give me an experience that you've had with entrepreneurship. And I'm not looking for like you to write a book. Give me a paragraph, right? I'm not looking for not an English class, right? Hit me up on LinkedIn. That way we could stay connected as time goes on. And then this is called Thanksgiving, but it's not really Thanksgiving. I sort of do a Thanksgiving post during the fall, obviously, and it's kind of like, what are we thankful for? And I like it. I like some of the responses in it. And I do it because it causes you to pause and be like, okay, what am I thankful for? In the middle of chaos, right? You kind of like, okay, what am I thankful for? And the best answers are the ones that say, I'm thankful for the chaos. Um, so this is how the class is laid out. So there's always going to be a reading assignment, and you click the link, it'll take you to the free book. I sent a note out if you want a copy of the book. Um, Hit me up, and I can get you a copy of the book. I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 copies in my office. You'll have to come by the campus. Let me know when you're coming to camp. I'm not on campus next week because it's spring break. But if you need a copy of the book because you need a physical, tangible book, let me know. We'll work it out. Um, and then there'll be something to read, and then there'll be something to write. And the writing assignments, you'll see, it says I don't grade on like the number of words. And but if you give me like a couple of sentences and it's a little lazy, and we both know it's a little lazy, you're going to get fewer points. But if I really feel like, and you feel like you got it, then great. Then we're golden, right? Once again, I'm not looking for. A lot of people have. I want 100-word minimum. I don't want 100-word minimum. I want you to. I want you to tell me you got it, and that, I think that sums up the whole class. This class is not about acquiring technical skills so that you can go off and conquer the world and be an entrepreneur. This is a class that's really more trying to understand what is it that makes an entrepreneur tick, right? What is it? And so as a result, we're going to be reading about entrepreneurs and watching videos about entrepreneurs, and we're going to try to connect the dots between these things and see if we can identify some commonalities. And so when you're reading and you're watching videos, I'm going to be looking in your writing for, are you able to make the connection between these things? Because if you can, maybe then you can begin thinking about, geez, do I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? My argument's always going to be yes, but what are you going to do? So let's talk just briefly about AI. Um, the college has got this terror running through it. All of them, not just us. I was at an event at a where every major university was. I was like the only community college there, and they're all, oh my God, what are we going to do about AI? And so, but I use AI every day. I just wrote a book. As a matter of fact, let me see if I could show you. Where is it? I just wrote a book and on creating a business plan, and I used AI. And so, at the bottom of the book, it always has the name of the author at the bottom. So it has Miguel Clone at the bottom, and then right underneath it, it says in collaboration with ChatGPT. And so I'm not running away from AI, but here's the deal. Could you just dump my question into ChatGPT and say, hey man, what do you think? Sure you could. But then I would ask you to ask yourself, why are you in this class? And so am I going to try to figure out whether you use AI? No, I'm not. But if you want to cheat, I mean, here's the deal. Hopefully you're taking this class because there's something that you're hoping to learn. And using ChatGPT can be great for the conversation. And so let me tell you how I would use it. So let's go to the first assignment, right? The first assignment, let's go back. There were three choices made in this chapter, so it implies that you read the chapter. What were those three, right? Pick the three that had a lasting impression. How were Uncle Cleve's choices similar to those made by Steve Jobs? So you come down, you go back, and there's a video by Steve Jobs, and it's one of his most famous, right? And how are there similar? Because there's similarities. You're going to be able to connect the dots pretty quick, and it's interesting to think that you could connect the dots between choices that this older black man was making in 1958 in the middle of segregated America in Mississippi, and the choices that Steve Jobs was making when he was, sort of trying to figure out, how do I do what I'm going to do with Apple? And the reason I think that's important is you want to sort of, can you connect the dots between these two extremes? And you can. It's pretty easy. So I'm just looking for you to, tell me, what did you see between the two of those things? And the videos are great. Some of them are a little bit longer. Uh, just put on the video, put your buds in your ear, and take your dog for a walk. You'll be fine. Listen to it. And you don't need to sit and watch it necessarily, or get on your treadmill, right? You need to get on your treadmill and open up your phone, put it on there, and watch it. They're good videos. I've never had one video that I posted because I'm like, oh, I need three. I'll just use this one. Not at all. This is really interesting, but I'm gonna let you watch it. So this is how it's laid out, right? Every week you're gonna have a little something, something to read, um, and then there's going to be, you're going to write stuff, and then there's discussions, right? Where they're going to be a little bit deeper question. And chapter two, for example, is about identifying problems and looking for opportunities to solve those problems. This is where I'm asking you to sort of look around you, right? Take on some of the attributes. What problems do you see? What products or services can you improve? How can you solve these problems? And the previous week we had that video about entrepreneurs, and there's a couple more, and you'll see, you should begin to see how is it that entrepreneurs see the world, right? And what do they see? They see a problem, and their brain immediately says, "Oh, geez, how can I fix this?" Which, by the way, is not a unique attribute. That's like an attribute, or a skill, a quality that we can assign to humans in general. And so, what would you do? What are the problems that you see? And don't feel like you need to go deep on, oh, I see the homelessness. Yeah, you got it. That's almost a big problem. But not everybody needs to see the problem as homelessness. Sometimes you can see the problem is that, my cup of coffee in the morning is just too darn expensive. Mine's not, because I don't go to Starbucks. I make my own coffee. Um, but you can say it's too expensive, right? And that is a big problem right now, is affordability. And how do I, and especially now with gas prices, how do I buy my gas and do all these other things that I need to do? And so are there ways that you could help, solve some of those problems? And then the discussion is you post your comment by Friday, right? And then you responded to your classmates by Sunday. And this is the interaction. And this is where, especially this one's kind of fun because this is the one where you're going to see, if somebody's going to point out, well, I see there being, the problem is blah, blah, blah. And, maybe the solution could be. And, this is where the exchange between students can be really dynamic and a lot of fun because you'd be like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that. And then if you can begin to have a conversation and begin thinking about it, just this is sort of like this is how we normally begin brainstorming. And so I'm a real entrepreneur. I've started 11 companies. I've put about $40 million into companies. I've sold three of them. Still got a team of four other people. There's five of us, and we still get together all the time. And this is how we begin our conversations. And this is how we then begin thinking about what's the next thing that we should do. And so I like this because it has the potential to who knows, maybe unlock some stuff in your head. But that's what the class is. You will read stuff, you'll watch some videos, and then you'll write some stuff. And the videos are always really good. And I try to keep it, as broad as possible. Um, and I'll be honest, it's really hard to like find a bunch of female entrepreneurs because most of the videos that I'm finding was all a bunch of guys. And so I'm trying to, I've been trying to have this be um, more diverse in terms of, males, females, and then obviously from different countries of origin, which is interesting because sometimes you hear about stuff people are doing like in Australia. You're like, well, we're not doing that. It's kind of, gosh, maybe we should be doing that here. So I really try to mix it up a little bit. And then we're going to get to the midterm. Midterm's always fun. And because the midterm is going to say, okay, we're going to look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, right? These are two of the richest people in the world, and arguably two of the people that have had maybe the most profound impact on our society, right? And Bezos, I mean, he's married now and he's jet setting around the world, but he did build this behemoth called Amazon. In Amazon, half of it probably know of, and that is the I will get you your package today guy. And then the other half is they built this world-class data center called Amazon Web Services. And now that Amazon Web Services business is really leaning forward on AI, and so very interesting company. But what I want you to do is sort of like, you look at their backgrounds, and there's a ton of writing on their backgrounds. And then look at Uncle Cleve, who's got a very different background. But how is it that you could see Musk and Cleve, sort of their not their interests align, but how did they exhibit? How did they portray? How did they adopt some of those? It's very similar, right? And so that's what I'm looking for. Not a big deal. Right? And once again, I've got to put this AI stuff in there. More. Hopefully they're fear tactics, and that you're actually coming here to learn some stuff. So that's the class. It's really designed to sort of spark some thoughts in your head. Now, there's a couple chapters in this book that are like, I just don't like that chapter, and I don't like it either. But there's some really difficult stuff in there. And then I've got one of these chapters is about sort of men misbehaving and what would cause that. And so there, because we're not just trying to look at the chocolate covered part of entrepreneurship, right? It's all bright and sunny with sprinkles on it. There's been a bunch of entrepreneurs that have just misbehaved badly. And why would they do that in the middle of all this madness, in the middle of all this success, right? And so there's some interesting stuff in this, and it's designed to sort of be thought provoking and engaging. So here's my advice. My advice is go knock out a couple of the extra credit assignments. Get the easy ones done. If you got LinkedIn, LinkedIn's easy. You got 75 points right here. That's 3 assignments. That means that you could you miss one because whatever. No stress. You're not going to be worrying about this. If you're on campus, stop in, come say hello. I've got the best office on campus, and I've got great coffee, and I've got a drawer with snacks. And that's a much bigger draw for an 18-year-old, but the coffee's good. And so stop in, say hello, or hit me up on during my office hours, where you can just call me on the phone and we can have a chat if you need a chat. So all of these are really designed to be super easy, but they're buffers against madness, right? Because madness is what happens, when you're trying to do a good job. And so hopefully, these few extra credit assignments will make it a little bit easier, and so that maybe this class doesn't add too much to the stress that you've already got going on right now. So if you need to find me, you want to have a quick chat, want to send me a text, easy. Just send me a quick text. If you want to have a chat, send me a quick text and say, hey, is now a good time? Because sometimes I'll be in class, or I'll be in the middle of something. Send me a text. If I can't do it right then, I'll say, give me X number of time, and then we will definitely get together and chat if we need to. Okay. Hope that wasn't too much babbling. Hopefully it was helpful. Have a good semester, everybody.